صباح الخير. Those who attended my session yesterday, اتكلمنا سريعا عن digital transformation and how cybersecurity is part of digital transformation. Today's session is more focused on one of our solutions. How anyone is aware of the Gartner implementation that's called Cloud Access Security Program. It's very well known by solutions. Our solution Cloud Access Security will be our focus today. We'll have a couple of slides. I don't really like slides so much, so we'll go directly to the demo. Okay, so before starting with the cloud app security, I just wanted to highlight a couple of very important points, right? So I know that there has been some sort of a perception that is Microsoft a security vendor, right? This is a very valid question, and we have been hearing this from many of our customers, which makes sense, right? Microsoft is the biggest IT solution provider worldwide. We do a lot of things, while mostly the security vendors out there are specialized in security, right? So does it really make sense that Microsoft is a security vendor as well? Right? And this question has been there maybe for the past 10 years, right? And the way we see it is we're not a traditional security company. So in terms of appliances and firewalls, we don't do that. We are not interested to do that. Even these solutions that we used to have, like the ISA server, like a couple of other products that we deprecated, we stopped. Clearly, because the vision today, since Satya took over the company, the vision is very clear. We'll only invest and focus on the solutions that we're the best in, that we can leverage our experience, leverage our huge footprint, number of customers, Windows, all of these. So this is really our focus. So we're happy even to work with others, right? If you have attended my session yesterday, we have partnerships with all of the big security vendors. Partnership with Cisco, with Symantec, you name it, it's like maybe 40 or 50 different things. The whole idea is, we believe we're the best and the stuff that we're focusing on, and we're happy to work with the rest. For example, we don't do SIM, right? You guys are aware of the SIM solutions. But we integrate with most of the big SIM vendors out there. So for example, we integrate with Splunk SIM, with IBM SIM, with HP SIM. This is the whole idea. So if you think about it this way, is Microsoft a security vendor? Well, we're not a traditional security vendor. We're a different kind of security vendor, right? We have solutions that can work with third parties, so it's not only about security products. We have solutions that can work with Mac, that can work with Linux. We have solutions that even integrate with third-party software as a service, like, for example, Oracle and Salesforce, which are great SaaS products. We can help to secure them as well. So this is the whole idea. So our investment last year in the research and development for security was $1 billion. $1 billion is not revenue, it's just what we invested last year. Frankly speaking, comparing this even to the revenue of many of the security vendors, this is huge. Most of the security vendors that you today work with are probably getting revenue that's less than what we invested. So our commitment is to protect, detect, and respond. So how this happens? We have what's called Microsoft Security Engineering Center and Microsoft Security Response Center. Those are the main two pillars when it comes to our product lifecycle, development lifecycle. So when we start with the conception of new product, think of it this way, SharePoint, Teams, right? It's a new business solution, it's not a security product, not necessarily a security product, right? We have those two teams working on securing and developing the security components part of the product till it reaches the release. So one side of our commitment is around the product itself. where we invest in securing our own products, which makes sense, right? We have to do that, right? But this is not only what we do. The other thing that we do is more related to government entities and working on national level, right? So we have what's called Global Security Strategy and Diplomacy Team. This is a worldwide team that engage with governments to help them define their security policies nationwide. It's not just that we sell solutions that are secure or that we sell security solutions. The third main component is that we have teams that work with governments on implementing their cybersecurity policies for the whole nationwide. So this is how it works. Okay, so as I mentioned yesterday, we have a very unique approach. Our unique approach works on 4 different layers. Those are our solutions. We have solutions that can help you secure your identity, Active Directory, or even your identity in the cloud. We have solutions that can help you secure your devices, which by that I mean not only the antivirus, which is a traditional component that has been there in Windows since ever, but we also have an endpoint detect and response solutions on top of Windows 10, on top of Windows servers, and on top of Linux and Mac as well, right? So an EDR solution is not an antivirus. This is not our topic for today, but just to make it very clear and simple, an EDR solution, as per Gartner, is not supposed to be an antivirus. It's a solution that complements the antivirus, where it performs behavioral analysis on the endpoint level. If you remember yesterday, when we mentioned that you should have containment strategies on top of your endpoint and on top of your host, not only on the network level, right? When we were discussing the threat protection. This is exactly the solution that does that. It is a detect and respond, where it provides automatic response on the endpoint level. So assuming that there was an attack, that the email security was not able to detect for any reason, and this attack reached the second level or the second phase, where it is on the endpoint. This is where the EDR solution helps. From an application and data point of view, we have a huge list of products. We have solutions related to securing your data when it comes to encrypting the data and assigning security and rights to the piece of information, even if it's outside your network. So this is one kind of solution that we have under the category of apps and data. We have other solutions that we will discuss today, for example, which is cloud app security, which is a CASB solution. It's mainly designed to secure your SaaS solutions. This is another kind of solution. We have DLP solutions. We have a lot of stuff related to applications and data. And finally, on the infrastructure level, we have all of the components that lives in Azure, our public cloud offering, which, for example, is like Azure Security Center, OS, and many others. Okay. So this is a quick list of what we have. It's a huge list. We can never cover all of these in one day. So, okay. So let's now come back to the main topic of the session, which is cloud app security, right? So anyone aware of the CASB concept? Can you please raise your hand? CASB. Have anyone heard the word CASB? Cloud Access Security Broker. Guys, no? Anyone? Thank you. Okay. So CASB is not a thing or a concept that we invented. It's a solution that has been there, not very old kind of solution, but it has been there for quite some time, and it is it's the result of the SaaS solution, right? So it's a component that was invented to help customers who are investing in SaaS solutions, right? So one of the main questions or challenges that you should think about when you start using SaaS, right? Even before starting SaaS, even those who are willing to go and invest, for example, in Salesforce and Office 365, one of the main challenges that they face is that they normally have the fear that these SaaS solutions are not secure compared to on-prem solutions, which is a very valid argument, the way I see it, right? If I have my stuff on-prem, I have the full control on my applications, on my data. I can, work. It's not hosted anywhere else. I'm sure that from a hardware perspective, from a network perspective, I have deployed the right controls and security measures to ensure it's secure, right? So this, one of the reasons that has been stopping a lot of organizations to adopt cloud is the fear of security. The statistics here say that 73% indicated security as a top challenge holding them back from adopting SaaS, right? Another thing is, even if you as an organization will say, you know what, I'm a highly regulated organization, I'll not go to cloud anymore. I'll never go to cloud. Like some banks still in some regions, they still have this mindset, which is fine, right? It's their decision. But the question is, even if you're not using cloud, can you be sure that your end users are not using cloud? This is a very important question, because maybe my organization is not adopting any cloud solution, but still my employees are simply using Dropbox, where they upload confidential data with good intentions, right? Maybe the guy just decided to work home, so he decided to upload a couple of documents on his Dropbox or in his Hotmail or Gmail or whatever, and you will not know. You don't have this visibility to know. You will not know until some sort of data leakage happens on Dropbox or Gmail or Hotmail or whatever, because you don't simply manage their Dropbox or Gmail. You don't, right? So this is one concern that you should always think about. Employees will go and use non-approved software as a service without you knowing. So even if you decide not to adopt the cloud, which is totally fine, there is still a risk that your data will be leaked, right? So a few questions to answer, just to start brainstorming. Why would I need a cloud access security broker kind of solution? First question, how do I ensure that appropriate access is happening to my cloud apps? Well, the answer should be yes, because I have an admin privilege. I'm assigning permissions based on whatever policy or business that I have in place. Yes, but what if I'm simply giving my username and password for Office 365 to another person? Or maybe my username and password being stolen. In both cases, you will not know until the other person changes the password, for example, right? But they will have access to the cloud without even being part of your network. This is one of the advantages and disadvantages of cloud. At cloud, people can access it while totally outside your network. It does not really matter, it's available on the internet. So the access becomes really more important compared to the on-prem applications. The second question, how can I know that my users are not breached? How can I know that my users' credentials have not been stolen, right? Do I have visibility on who is using the cloud application? So if I'm adopting Salesforce.com, which is an amazing sales automation solution, do I have who is using it? Can I see patterns of usage? Can I know? Because, for example, if one of my sales team was supposed to use Salesforce is accessing Salesforce simply from outside my territory, he is accessing Salesforce from China, for example, and we don't have any business in China. Well, this means one thing, there's something wrong. Or maybe one of my guys who was supposed to use Salesforce is simply downloading a huge amount of data from Salesforce, like maybe financial proposals or whatever it is. This is a normal behavior? No. So at least you have to have this visibility to know how is your employees using the cloud application. Another question is, how do I know what apps are being used in my environment? Because, as I mentioned earlier, many different applications can be used inside your environment without you not knowing. For example, those who use any consumer kind of cloud solution for business with good intentions or bad intentions. I don't really care if it's good or bad intention. At the end of the day, this can result in data leakage, right? Another question, how do I prevent data leakage? Do I have controls that automatically will detect that this employee, the way he used cloud, he's downloading a lot of files or removing a lot of data from the cloud application, or he's providing his credentials to someone else? How can I know that? How can I prevent that automatically? Because no one can provide that 24/7 monitoring to this level. Maybe you can have it on security incident levels, but it's really hard to have this kind of monitoring on data level as well, right? Because the whole idea is that I have people who are supposed to access the business solutions from outside. So this is a use case that I cannot change. So So I have to adapt to this business case by adopting cloud, which is, for example, I adopted Salesforce. But at the end of the day, while doing that, I need to make sure that the whole thing is happening in a secure way. Finally, how can I address my regulatory mandates? For example, have anyone heard about GDPR? General Data Protection Laws. Have anyone heard about this? This is simply a personal information or data privacy laws that has been amended. So it was there before in the European Union, but was not really that focused on specifically IT solutions. It was there to simply protect the privacy or the personal information of European citizens. There is a very good chance. 5 minutes. I started like 45. أنا بادئ متأخر ربع ساعة. I need like my 4 15 minutes. Okay, so from a regulatory perspective, think of it this way. Not only GDPR, even the regulatory entities in every country. So central banks regulates how commercial banks works. For example, here in Egypt we have NTRA who regulates how the telecos works. There are many different government regulations. There are many different regulations out there. How can you make sure that while you're enabling your users, enabling your business users to do their job in a better way, you're providing them better solutions, how we can ensure that this is happening while you are meeting your compliance. So introducing our Microsoft Cloud App Security, it's a cloud delivered service bringing visibility and control to cloud apps. Well, it makes sense, it lives in the cloud, right? Because it's supposed to monitor cloud applications, right? So it's a cloud application that lives in the cloud that only secures cloud applications. Even, as I mentioned, if you don't have cloud applications today, you still don't have the visibility if your end users are using cloud. It provides comprehensive and proven protection, and it's committed to supporting third-party cloud applications. So this solution is not only designed to protect our Office 365, no, it protects Office 365 along with many different cloud applications. So it does not really require an agent. So the first thing that I would have in mind, so to be able to protect every single user of mine who's using different cloud applications, you have to deploy an agent. Not true. We don't need any kind of agent. It works on the cloud level. It provides comprehensive controls to sanction applications. So you can decide and say, and we'll have a demo like 5 minutes later. You can decide and say, you know what? I need to sanction this application. I approve the usage of this application, or I don't. So even these applications that you discover that your end users are using, for example, they're using Dropbox. If you're fine with Dropbox, you can sanction Dropbox. We don't really mind, right? But at least you have the visibility and the controls to secure Dropbox. This is what is really important to us. And finally, it provides threat protection. So by threat protection, I mean it can identify abnormalities in how your end users are using the cloud. So many different examples are there. If your administrator is doing admin activities from outside your network or from a different time zone or from a different location, this is really fishy. Yeah, it can be legitimate where maybe the admin is on vacation and someone called him and asked him to do something. I'm fine with that, but at least you have to have this visibility. So let me start my demo. So this is the home page of Cloud App Security. This is how it looks, like the general dashboard. So it starts with few general statistics. How many activities have been monitored? How many files have been monitored? How many accounts have been monitored? how many governance actions, which are automated actions, and we'll see this in details now, have been taken, and how many apps have been discovered in the past 30 days and stuff like that. So we can start with the discovery up here, where you can start with the cloud discovery dashboard. The cloud discovery dashboard is supposed to show you the cloud usage. What kind of applications is being used in your organization? So for example, you can see here that you have, is it clear, or do I need to zoom a little bit? So here it provides me with application categories that is being used in my environment. There are cloud storage solutions that is being used that I can drill down and see what exactly are these cloud storage applications. Maybe it's OneDrive for business, maybe it's OneDrive consumer, right? Maybe it's Dropbox, maybe it's Box.com, it can be anything, right? So I can drill down and see what exactly are the cloud applications being used from a cloud storage perspective. Those are the collaboration, the webmail, CRM solutions, and online meetings solutions, right? Go back here, this is a quick figure around the traffic that's happening from inside your network to cloud applications. So it's 4.8 gigabytes, where a small part of it is a traffic from high-risk applications. So your end users are using high-risk applications. How we can know that this is a high-risk application? What we do is that we provide very transparent criteria that we evaluate every and each cloud application based on the same criteria, where you can see this criteria, and I'll show it to you now, right? And then you can have a score for every single application based on the same criteria. So for example, does this cloud application use encryption for data at rest and in motion? Is this cloud application ISO certified or not? Do they have redundancy across different geographical locations or not? Stuff like that can help you decide if you should trust this cloud application or not. At the end of the day, it's your decision. We'll not enforce it on you. We'll just give you the visibility that this cloud application, the way we see it, it's not so good, or maybe it's so good. So we'll give you a score. Here are the list of the discovered applications. As you can see, we have Office 365, which is ours. We have Exchange, we have Dynamics. We have also Box.com, Amazon Word Docs, Donny Drive, YouTube. Those are the things that we have seen that has been used across your organization, right? And those are the app headquarters locations. So this is where these applications originally come from. And those are the top users doing this usage. So you can go and drill down a little bit to the discovered applications. In the discovered application tab, you will have a list of every application, and then you can decide if you want to sanction or not. And you can have a look on the rating that we have provided to this application. So from here I can simply go and say I want to sanction or sanction this application, right? If I click on the application, I can see the evaluation that Microsoft has done for you for this specific application. This is the criteria, it's very transparent. And you can always come back to us and challenge these values. So for example, as you can see here from a security perspective, we're happy that this application provides admin audit trail, it provides data at rest encryption, it provides file sharing, it provides this and that. From a compliance perspective, we're giving you the visibility that this application is certified by ISO 27701, SOC 3, FISMA, blah, blah, blah. So this kind of things you can get visibility on. Think about it this way, it can even help you when you are deciding to purchase a new cloud application. Take advantage of this, and I have seen many customers doing that. They take advantage of this specific feature to have a clear and transparent criteria to evaluate these cloud applications. So you can have a look even from an IP user perspective, who is using what, from a user perspective. So here I can have a visibility on that this specific user, Charlie, has uploaded 2 megabytes with a traffic of 8 megabytes and did 16 transactions on this date. So this is the kind of details that you can get. Even if I'll click on Charlie, I will get to see what this guy has been exactly doing. So this is the discovery part, which is the first part. The second part is the investigation, where I can have a view on all of the activities that has been done on every single cloud application that I sanction, that I approve. Because those I approve, it normally means that these applications are corporate applications that we want our users to use. So it's really important to know what exactly has been happening in terms of activity activities on these applications. So we can see here, for example, playing with the filters. I will select application X and select the username and maybe an activity type and maybe a location as well. And then I can get a view on this user did the login, has created a user which is admin, blah, 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 has did this and did that on every single different application, right? So this is the investigation. So it can help you really with investigating if there is something wrong. For example, someone has been assigned privileges that he's not supposed to get, someone has access to data that he's not supposed to access. This kind of things can be investigated using the investigate part. Most of the time I will try to just skip some parts, fortunately. So this is the last part, which is related to threat protection. This is where we can identify abnormalities in the way your end users are using them. So for example here, I can see that in the general anomaly detection, yes, so here I have, for example, a PCI compliance policy that I've created just to know what's happening from a compliance perspective on OneDrive for Business. So I'm getting here alerts telling me that this file is not really compliant with PCI the way it was processed, so I can have visibility on this. I just want to show you one final thing and we'll be done. Those are, for example, alerts that I have received in how users are using G Suite, right? So maybe I'm an organization who approves using G Suite, I'm adopting G Suite, which is totally fine. So here I'm getting a notification or an alert that the user XYZ has triggered a suspicious session with a risk score of 89%. Based on the factors below. The first thing is that he's using IP address that was never used by anyone in our organization for admin activity. The second thing, he's using an ISP that was never used by in any admin activity. He is an administrator. He has performed an admin activity in Google Apps for the first time in 276 days. The admin action is change document setting, and this is not an action that happens to us frequently. So think about it this way. This guy has privilege to do the admin activity on Google, on the G Suite platform that you adopt. You did not know that he's doing this because he simply had the privilege. But we can see that there is abnormality here, that there are some actions correlated together that does not make sense. If the guy is an administrator, for some reason he's accessing from outside the country and he's using an IP that was never used, and he's doing the kind of admin activity that looks suspicious to us, we will simply alert you. One final kind of alert that you can get, and I'm sure that there are a lot of stuff that we can see, but because of the time restriction, we have to stop now. This is the final thing that I will show you. So this is the kind of alert that you can get, what we call it general anomaly detection. By general anomaly detection, we mean is that we monitor your user activities, and whenever we see that a correlation of different actions that your end user has been doing correlated together does not make sense, then we alert you, and even you can have the option to automate actions on this user. So for example, you can decide and say, you know what, I want to disable this user account automatically if he does this kind of things. So the alert here is telling me that the user XYZ has triggered a suspicious session of risk 65%. He's using the IP address, blah, 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 and an anonymous proxy. So he's using anonymous proxy. He's an administrator, he's using a internet service provider that was never used before. The session has 6 failed logins, and the user connected from this location in the United States, and then from that location in Israel in about 1 hour. No one can travel from US to Israel in 1 hour, which means there is something fishy here. Either my administrator is sharing its credentials with someone in Israel or the US, or it can simply mean that this admin credentials have been stolen, which means that there is something wrong. Thank you. I'm done.